If ChatGPT keeps giving answers that feel off, this probably isn't user error. There's a specific reason this happens, and it's not about being unclear or doing something wrong. The core issue is this: ChatGPT has to guess what's intended from the words alone. It can't see context or read tone, only the words on the page. It infers intent, and sometimes it infers wrong. Mode switching is one place this shows up. So is vagueness. So is confidence, where there shouldn't be any. This video explains why the mismatch happens, not how to fix it, just why it occurs. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine someone is using ChatGPT to think through a decision, maybe exploring options for a project, or testing out ideas for a trip. Not ready to commit, just thinking out loud. But ChatGPT responds like the decision has already been made. It gives a detailed plan. It commits to specifics. It moves forward. And the person thinks, that's not what I meant. I was just exploring. It's frustrating because it feels like the system didn't listen. But here's what actually happened. The person was in one mode, exploring. ChatGPT inferred a different mode, deciding, and because it can't see the difference, it responded to what it thought was being asked. Not defiance, not a memory problem, just a mismatch in how intent was communicated. When people communicate, they're constantly switching between different modes. Sometimes exploring, sometimes deciding, sometimes drafting, sometimes just checking their thinking. These switches don't get announced. They're expected to be picked up naturally. ChatGPT can't see those switches. It doesn't know if someone is exploring or deciding, unless that's explicitly stated. It reads the words, but it can't read the intent behind them. The key principle is this: it infers what's wanted from what's said, not from what's meant. And that inference is based entirely on language, no tone, no hesitation, no shared context beyond the words themselves. This is why the same question can get wildly different responses depending on how it's phrased, not because the system is inconsistent, but because the inference changes. Mode switching is just one place this shows up. The same thing happens when someone is vague on purpose, maybe testing an idea or wanting options. ChatGPT fills in the gaps and runs with it, because that's what it's designed to do. It's not defying the request. It just doesn't know the request was to brainstorm. Once this pattern becomes visible, a lot of frustrations start making sense. Why ChatGPT gives a full answer when options were wanted. It inferred deciding, not exploring. Why it sounds confident even when it's wrong. It doesn't signal uncertainty the way a person would. It just responds. Why long conversations feel like they drift. The intent changed, but the system kept responding to the earlier signal. None of this is user error. It's a mismatch between how people communicate intent and how ChatGPT reads it. The system is doing exactly what it's designed to do, inferring from language alone. The problem is that human communication relies on far more than just the words. Knowing this doesn't automatically fix the problem. ChatGPT still can't read minds. It still infers from words alone. But understanding why the mismatch happens changes how the interaction feels. It stops feeling like a failure to communicate clearly. It starts feeling like a gap between what the system can see and what people naturally expect it to understand. And once that gap is visible, it becomes easier to notice when the mismatch is happening. Not tricks, not hacks, just clarity about what the system can and can't infer. That's why this isn't user error. It's a structural difference in how intent gets communicated and how it gets read.